Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I'm once again joined by Demosthenes
Hey, folks.
and Darkside Cookies.
Hello, hello.
So yeah, we're picking back up this game with Shinuyama. Shit's been going down, and you want to maybe give us a summary of where we left off, Demosthenes?
Yeah, well, to our south and east, Naba and Marignon have been having an extremely Pyrrhic war with each other. Meanwhile, Asphodel is kind of snowballing, and they just finished off Man, and they and all of Machaka's other neighbors seem to be attacking Machaka. And so, sort of, we were, thinking that we need to grow quickly to keep up with everybody who's eating Machaka. And so we just sent a nap ending notice to Naba, with the thinking being that we would try and take out Naba, who is a pretty scary scaling nation. Like, I think, it's never fun to, to fight them later on in the game. And, under the theory that we'd probably have time to do that war before turning on Asphodel, who we're kind of thinking is sort of the
Big
snowball
bad
leader in
guy.
the game at this point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and I have a confession to make, which is that we are not going to be fighting Naba. When he saw the notice, he sent me some messages and we chatted about it, and he talked me out of doing the war with him, and sort of go through the thinking for that.
Yeah, well, let's go through
Uh,
that. So what did they say to sweet talk you?
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, he reminded me that Asphodel is snowballing, and talked about how he thinks that he could be a really valuable asset for trying to counter the Asphodel snowball, and that his mage core is fully intact, and so he might is not going to go down particularly easily. Even if he's lost a lot of troops, I think it's been like 10,000 gold worth of troops he's lost in the last three turns. And I sort of looked at the situation of how quickly Machaka is going to fall, and I think it's very possible that they'll be dead before the nap with Naba even ended. And and so Naba made an offer, which is that I take the northern half of Marignon. So sort of a solution to my problem of wanting to keep up is I can go and sort of vulture that Marignon territory. And also he offered me two provinces in the cave, so the two sort of that are adjacent to where I was. And frankly, that was a very generous offer. No big war with Naba. I get a little bit bigger, and my helping him finish off Marignon quickly means that he would be available as an ally against Naba.
Yeah,
And potentially a lot sooner
that
than
is
otherwise.
that is what I was looking at. So Marignon does not. This is kind of one of the problems if you don't neighbor the guy who's snowballing, is that really all you can. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, yeah, sorry. Dogs were loud in the background. Yeah, so one of the problems is if you're not adjacent to the guy who's snowballing, is you. It's very hard. Well, you can't help attack that person. The only thing you can kind of do is you could be a whip of the coalition. That's kind of the only thing you can have. So Marignon, they're in a tough position right now, but they could be like, all right, I can't help fight Asphodel, but anybody who bails fighting Asphodel, I will attack them.
You can
But
also play the dirtier move, which is to ally yourself with the snowballer and try to
well,
break
that's
up the
often what
coalition.
happens,
Yeah.
right? Like the players who don't border the snowballer, like even if everybody teams up on Asphodel, the second the coalition starts winning, like maybe Marignon hangs tight and lets you guys grind into Asphodel for 5 or 6 turns. But once it looks like the tides are turning, then they stab somebody. So, you know.
And they'd be right to, like, if it looks like we're beating Asphodel, Asphodel is going to message Marignon being like, hey, guy, I'm going to lose. You need to go and hit into their back, or
Right.
they're going to snowball now,
Right. But, I think from a game state perspective, in some ways it does make sense to eat Marignon over Naba. One thing is you just kind of know what you're going to be fighting when you fight Marignon. Like in some ways it's an easier thing. But then they also, Naba can actually help you fight Asphodel, which I think is valuable. Though they are a dirty diagonal war starter. So,
Yeah.
you lose some
I
karma
think that
points.
Yeah, and I think this is a case where the fact that I put some effort into crafting my message to Naba that was very friendly and sort of like sort of leaving it as an out as like if you make a good enough offer I'll change my mind was not explicitly in there, but it was pretty implicit in sort of the way that I framed that message, and so that sort of created the opportunity for him not to be super mad at me or whatever, but instead to like talk it out and convince me that there was a better plan that solves what I sort of see as my problem, that I don't feel like I'm ready to fight Asphodel with what I've got, especially since I border the Asphodel core land, so I would not be anticipating any gains in terms of gold income
Yeah.
from that war.
Okay, so this is interesting. We have Naba riding out again, this time against Marignon with mostly crossbowmen, which are kind of fine in melee. They've got decent armor and not great, but okay. They've got good base stats and then a mace. So these will be able to kill the birds pretty well. But the cav are kind of oddly positioned, as has kind of been the case. Though it looks like he's doing a better job by a small margin protecting his mages. But like maybe he's going to get actually body ethereal off here, which would be kind of cool. Is coming in with a lot of Malakas. This looks like 6 Malakas with air gems, presumably for air elementals. Now, air elementals are heavily nerfed in 6, so
yeah, we'll see how they
thank
perform
God.
in this matchup.
Thank God. They were having fought Naba before where they had lots of Malakas summoning air elementals. I don't mind seeing the air elemental nerf.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that while their direct capabilities are nerfed, the fact that magic weapons plus is no longer ubiquitous means that this Marignon does not magic weapons, so they last a lot longer.
Right.
Non-magical damage than they used to.
Yeah, so people who don't know, there's some things that are like side grades, like they can now attack while they trample, is my understanding. So we should be able to, we should see air elemental attacking, arrow hit crossbowmen with in the arm with a lightning swarm, right? This wouldn't have happened before. So this is, I guess, an upgrade, right? They can attack while they trample, but things that are trampling do less damage if they're ethereal. Ethereal units are less good at trampling and only cause half as much damage. So they're much less killy in the trample, but they can now do the lightning swarm attack as well. So that's kind of like a side grade thing. But then Spirit Form also is basically entirely a malice now. And this was a tag that didn't used to exist. So you can no longer put like iron skin on them and stuff like that. But then the other thing, which is a strict nerf, is they I think this is a great change for the elementals. They've changed it so that the hit points are higher, but basically the way elementals used to work is you had a certain amount of hit points and then they would drop a form and each form would have a new set of hit points. So even though they didn't have that much, in any single form, the net between all the forms was huge. Well, now they shed size as they go down in form. There was a mod that did this in Dominions 5. It was a great mod, I think. But that's not been put in the base game. I think that's a great thing. And what this allows to happen is overflow damage can now happen. So if you hit it for 40 damage, you can knock it through several forms. Before, if you hit it for 40 damage, you would just knock it through one form and it would basically cap the damage at 10 or something. So, yeah.
Marignon's going right through those forms with fireballs.
Yeah, the mages do real good.
Yeah, which feels appropriate. Though I'll note that Marignon has now lost probably a third of their crossbows or something. Like it was a lot of damage that they did pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, the line formation is nice when you're fighting into potentially like big archer stacks. And then also if you're fighting into potential Thunderstrike spam, which is something you're worried about. But for air elementals, you actually do want to surround them. So if you're in a box formation with the air elementals, I think it's probably better.
I think they must be on. Are they routed or are they on fire and keep this?
No, the crossbows are routed.
Yeah.
So it's possible we get different RNG than happened.
Oh, I think crossbows routed in the as well.
The armies of Marignon have not routed yet.
Yeah, the Knights have really good morale, and they haven't hit the 75% sort of losses level where they route.
Marignon's routed in this battle.
Oh yeah.
So this is going to be something that's going to be interesting for Kirby to see, where, you know, I think in the battle report they lost this.
Yeah.
But in this version, different RNG probably had mostly to do with the threshold at which the crossbow's routed at. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you go back to the strategic map, you'll see that it is very much a Pyrrhic victory for Marignon because they did not defend any of their retreat routes. And so all of those crossbows are now dead.
Yeah. So yeah, this is Kirby doing a great job to kind of increase the stakes of this combat so that, you know, especially if they did defeat them, which, you know, we saw in the replay, but if they did win, then it would have been a complete destruction of the army. But even in the case they you know, in the official battle report, they had a Pyrrhic loss that still caused a ton more damages because they were able to cut retreat routes.
Yeah, and Naba should have kept most of his mages again with all those retreat routes, which is good given the mage commitment.
And to be fair, I think Kirby's offer here was pretty good for y'all. You know, again, bad karma for helping somebody doing a diagonal war, but Marignon's basically completely exhausted now. And, you know, whereas fighting Naba probably would be a lot harder than finishing off Marignon. So. Okay, did we miss anything? I think with the, you know, just the rating to control these things.
Yeah, I think that's all. You know, I started at the number, so we spent 12 gems on remote site searching and found 2 gems. Largely, I think not through the remote site searching, but it's probably the
and
story there.
Yeah, that's still good. Shimmering waterfall. So, Garden of Frozen Flowers, Animal Cemetery. This sucks if I recall. Yeah.
So it sucks, but I actually had a lot of fun with this game because it's right on the Asphodel border. So this is, you know, our opportunity to get some Asphodel troops. And
yeah, that's pretty funny.
Looking around about the ambition to make more, you know, troops than Asphodel through this thing. To which he replied that he had already found the same site. So our hopes were dashed.
That's funny. Okay, so you're sneaking some troops into Marinese lands.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had a nap with Marignon, and I sent him the notice. It was sort of like my conversation with Kirby was right at the start of the turn, so I just told him in Discord, and he was like, "Yeah, that's cool," you know. Okay. So we'll be, you know, attack orders on turn 33 or so, so a couple turns.
Yeah, I doubt they're super surprised, and they kind of probably are not. I would honestly, in this position, I'd be happy to be excused out of the game. So.
Yeah, I think he's been enjoying the war, and, you know, we did actually do a trade that maybe resolved this turn where I sent him 30 pearls for 30 fire gems because he's hoping to summon some of his angels. So, you know, there'll be some interesting, you know, he's still playing, you know, seriously in terms of coming up with things to do.
Well, good. Let's go to turn 31.
30.
All right, and we've got turn 32, not 31. And some more site searching. You found a Mirage. That's pretty good if I recall. Oh, no, just one pearl. Gem. Or one glamour gem. Oh, the glowing hill. Yeah. This is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really good. And it's actually buffed in Dominion 6. It now gives you gems. But, you know, our bliss is just resistances and reinvigoration. But we're really excited about that because getting some 10 shock resistant stealthy troops that are actually decent for something where... That's kind of, you know... So we're going to start a fort, I think, this turn there to sort of work towards being able to make them because I think it already has no resources in that province, so we couldn't make them.
Yeah,
with just a temple.
I mean, you're not going to ever get a ton because you've got forts around it already, except for these 2. So
yeah, they're mostly recruitment point limited usually, because they're so lightly armored, like 12 resources.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you might be able to make a ton. Okay, so that's really nice. Garden of Pearls, 2 Astral. Okay, and let's take a look at some of these battles. Asphodel casually walking into Machaca. Yeah, this is the other thing when you ally with Popkill is often they're going to take the lion's share of the gains. They're like, because you kind of often you just need so much resistance to like fight Popkill. If you're spreading yourself thin, then like Popkill excels at just like pouring over territory and popping forts. So. Did Marignon stay on top of this fort? They did.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too. You know, maybe they were attempting to be unpredictable, right? Like sometimes if you think the opponent's going to do something else.
Yeah,
Just
what's
surprise them.
interesting is this turn was a turn where you, like, but they didn't summon a bunch of air elementals, but they did box up. You know, I was saying it could have made sense to box up. They would have done better against the air elementals. But then in come the evocations, and those are the things that punish you if they box up. That's kind of one of the things about fighting Naba is sometimes you want to spread out if you're like worried about evocations, but if you're like worried about elementals, you want to group up.
Yeah, you should also check out, they're invisible, so it's a little hard to see, but they've got a bunch of these Jin Thugs, which
Yeah, these are
in
cool.
Magic 3 skills have ridiculously good stats.
Yeah, these are really nice.
Like 20 less defense, and if you don't have true sight, it's another 10 effectively.
Yeah. It's really cool how they've done I like I guess this is unseen, how they've silhouetted it. It looks really cool. But
It's really hard to see without the fire shield. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts. So that was this. So this is basically Marignon's probably down to just a trickle of knights. That's kind of a thing with Marignon. On one hand, your sacreds are like kind of replaceable because they're recruit anywhere. But on the other hand, they're kind of not. They take a long time to mass and they're expensive. And once you get down to like, I don't know, 50 sacreds, you're kind of out of the game. What the hell?
Yeah, so this is Pyrene trying to take, I guess this fort is actually a Genji fort that they left this Bane fighter on top of it in order to hold the siege, I think. And Pyrene is moving in.
And what is this? Shinuyama, oh, this is you taking this from Naba.
Yeah, exactly. So one
Where
of the
is your
cool
guy?
things
You got
from
an
Naba
Uba.
is the Uba have this really high map movement, Ghost Cat form. And so you can often attack sort of 2 provinces away with it.
Oh, okay.
Without using any gear if you start
Gotcha.
in the Ghost Cat farm and then switch. So that's what we're
Gotcha.
doing.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. God, Machaka is really getting bent over here.
Yeah, so I think that's all that I had for this turn, other than that we should take a look at the Achaka strategic map, maybe also the Naba one.
Yeah. Where's Machaka?
That's the one just north of there. So unfortunately we will miss the battle, but it's actually under siege by Asphodel this turn.
Yeah, dude, Asphodel's out of control. Yeah, if you guys can turn this around on them, I'm gonna be really surprised.
Yeah, it's
they just are
spooky.
snowballing really, really hard. And the thing is I think this actually, even though Kirby's being a dirty diagonal war person, I do think you need the most important thing when you have somebody snowballing out of control is strong allies. And a lot of that just has to do with like, is the player good? So like the biggest resource that I think you have at this point in time is knowing which nations on the map are good players, so like piloted by good players and are in okay positions, and make sure you and them are all on the same page with what you're going to need to do. So because I think they're right at the point where like if you had the whole map turned on Asphodel right now, but like you were the only good player, like there's a very good chance Asphodel just wins the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's something you sometimes can't control. It's one of the things that I think is like one of the most like kind of meta defining things for a given lobby is like in like a highly mixed skill lobby or in like a low skill lobby, you can just snowball and snowball and snowball and you don't ever stop. And if people aren't good enough to stop you, you just keep going. In a high skill lobby, you get punished by that. But like not being aggressive enough in a low skill lobby, you can often just lose because somebody gets big enough that you can't fight them 1v1 and the rest of the lobby's basically no help. So
yeah, I agree with all that.
But yeah, they're about to be a 3-cap Asphodel.
You guys are in trouble. It's going to be spicy. All right, let's look at the next turn. And do you have any kind of final things to say here?
No, I think we should go on to 33, and that should be our last turn probably for this episode. So
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, 33. And finish some research. I got Thumb 4. Let's take a look at that real quick. You got Thumb 4, Enchantment 5, heading up Evocation for the Evocation kind of play you guys are talking about.
We also found, I think, a total of 7 gems this turn. Most
Oh, really?
significantly, in our underground cave, we found the 10,000 things. So this is the province we bought off Ulm, and it's a really good province.
Yeah,
Really
oh my
good.
god. Wow. Starflower Garden, 10,000 Gorge. Wow, that's a really good turn.
Yeah, we've definitely had good site searching
cool
this game.
So this is interesting. This is a Malika Thug. This is the first Malika Thug we've seen. We've seen some of the Jin Thugs running around. Now, these are great Thugs because they start off ethereal. They've also got No, they're not unseen. Sorry. They have Veil Army. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jin are definitely a stronger Thug than the Malika. By the way, those Jin are only 18 fire gems. So he dumped, I think he had 6 of them in that last battle. So he dumped, 96 fire into them. It's a little bit, and described it to me as sort of an emergency purchase, but they're very solid as a purchase. It's rare you can get a good mage for that level.
Yeah. Don't they have Earth Paths in Dominions 5? Am I mistaken?
They can
Glamour replaced some of that. They also have like 6 different, like it's a random pick among 6 different things. I think that's a fire random.
Oh, okay.
You can get Earth, Asphodel, Nature randoms as well.
Oh, there's this guy too, a Jin. Well, does he have Mist Form? He does. Okay. Yeah, not having magic weapons here is hurting. It's really hurt them a lot. It might be like that might be why Kirby picked this war, was just because they didn't have magic weapons.
Yeah, it's also worth looking, like, you see a lot of checks failing. So one of the really cool things that's new in Dominion 6 is that the Glamour Fire Crosspath has this spell.
Oh, right.
I forgot what it's called, but
Shroud of Splendor.
Shroud of Splendor.
Yeah.
So just the layers of defense that they can get.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
So I think in the replay we saw, they didn't lose anything. I don't think the Malika died. But in the official game thing, he lost the Malika. Yeah. I actually have a hard time seeing how they would die. I mean, obviously, if Mistform gets popped, they could be in a bad way, but...
Yeah, I think it was just an unlucky lance hit that popped Mistform and...
Pyrene attacking Tianchi. Now, Pyrene is one of the people that's supposed to be fighting Machaka, right?
Yeah, this is him. So remember, Machaka was sieging some Tianchi stuff, so this is effectively Pyrene taking the forts that Machaka had taken from Tianchi and or Tianchi's forts. So for this Vult train of what had been their spoils. But you can see that the Machaka capital is now Asphodel's. And that's really the main news of this turn. So we don't have the video to watch, but what happened is that Asphodel cost Rigor Mortis, Spell Vapors, and Relief, and everything fell asleep and died. And it was extremely brutal.
Fuck. Yeah, you guys are in trouble. This is... Yeah. There's a way to play the game where you pick like some nation that scales really fast early. You have like very like kind of primitive research targets. You like mass produce sacreds, and you just run into one player after another. And like I was saying, in like lower skill lobbies, you can just do that like without getting punished at all. And I think I've only been in one game where that's really happened. It was on an alt account, and I ended up killing the player who was doing it, but then the person who was in position 2 ended up winning as the guy, like... I think the guy who was snowballing out of control, like, destroyed his forts so that position 2 could, like, take them in Throne Rush. So it was kind of a shitty way for the game to end. But yeah, I was, like, a 1-cap nation fighting, like, a 4-cap nation. And we got, like, a few other people to help, but they effectively died. And I was killing him, but it was tough.
Yeah, so I can give sort of.
But I felt totally out of control.
Yeah. So the diplomatic changes here. So I think this turn, Asphodel sends Pyrene a nap ending notice, so you can see that their intent to further snowball.
Yeah.
And Naba responds by immediately ending nap with Asphodel. So I think it's really one of the things where you can see, like, I don't know, Kirby is just a great player to play with, right? Because he's, fighting this sort of Pyrrhic war with Marignon, but nonetheless, it's, immediate. You can't keep snowballing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Kirby's smart. To me, it's rare to see a player snowball this hard. Like, like I said, I've only, I think, seen it once. But when you see it, because this player clearly has no, I don't want to say respect because that's not the right word. They're just not concerned at all with like not keep sticking their head above the fence, They're like, I'm just going to snowball. And when you're like that, the world has to kind of come down on you or you're going to win. So,
yeah. So, and, I think we decide that, Shinuyama, we are going to delay a turn before ending up for sort of, we're just sort of not ready to defend against the wave of attacks that will happen when we start. And then the sort of other diplomacy is that Ulm has ended up with Pyrene. So they're sort of, in some sense, taking Asphodel side, though I think the way that they're thinking about it is that Pyrene has this enormous cave system. They're actually one of the bigger nations in the game. And Ulm does not really want to deal with infinite storm demons now. So they sort of feel that Pyrene needs to be contained. And Nidavangar had some sort of incomprehensible to me diplomatic unhappiness with Pyrene. I think related to the fact if you look at how Pyrene is on top of every single one of those sort of Tianchi forts, like I think basically Nidavangar felt that they needed to get some of those Tianchi spoils and felt like
this sounds like a
sort of
huge clusterfuck.
Yeah,
the way you're describing it.
Effectively what we're ending up having here is kind of like two coalitions. There's a Nidavangar, Asphodel, and Ulm coalition against Pyrene, which Pyrene is certain to lose, I think, just from thinking about
Yeah,
how
of
strong
course,
Asphodel is.
of course.
And then there's a Naba Shinuyama coalition with Pyrene helping to some extent against Asphodel. And that will be sort of our diplomacy going forward for the next phase of the game.
Yeah, there's been
I think y'all
lot
are
of,
fucked. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know y'all are way farther ahead in this in the game, so I'm guessing you guys pull it out somehow. But I just think y'all are fucked. I think there's no way. I think it just sounds really bad. What I think is going to happen is Asphodel is going to make huge gains against Pyrene, or shift and roll over, let's say, Naba, while maybe stalemating you. And then meanwhile, other people are going to take a long time to kill. Like, honestly, if Asphodel is just like, okay, I'm going to like kind of let Pyrene fight these other two, and then he 1v2s you, because that's really what that boils down to.
Yeah.
I think he should win. Because y'all don't have any of your timings. And he's got...
say that we are we are not feeling great about this situation. Like fundamentally, I think this is we are going to be taking the full brunt of Asphodel potentially. Like I think he has 9 forts that are sort of in that top half of his empire that's facing us. And I think there's 3 in the bottom, like Min, and the 2 forests next to it facing the Ba. And yeah, we in some sense need to be attacking into the sort of serpent's lair, and he's got his Mother Oak, so I'm estimating he's got 35, 40 nature gems a turn of income.
Yeah.
To play with. He's already got his enchantment 6 play, so we sort of have to assume that we're going to get foul vapors and rigor and
I mean, y'all don't have the answer to that. Like, you can't bring a proper army to fight him.
But definitely vexing. I think vexing is the word.
So let me give you my spiel on diplomacy for this situation right now.
Yeah.
I think the way... you don't control other players, and that's one of the frustrating things when somebody's running away with the game is you have limited agency. But I think Ulm is a key person, right? Ulm actually has potentially a lot to gain. They could get these 3 Machaca forts, and maybe these ones as well. And then once they're done, they can help Asphodel. And helping kill Asphodel makes sense because this hasn't been depopulated yet. So they could get Machaca and some of the land around Machaca without like it being dead.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first kind of person to convince. And the other thing is like you have time to deal with Pyrene. Pyrene's not like gonna have Storm Demon armies. Like Storm Demon armies don't really happen until you get Blood 9. right? Like there'll be some, but you're not going to have like 300 storm demons in the next 20 turns.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. It'll be like 50 storm demons, 80 storm demons, that kind
Yeah.
of thing, which is very scary if you're Ulm and you don't have.
I mean,
you haven't
kind
really
of.
got some
Ulm
sort
can
of
make
shock
like
resistance
one
on it.
gym shock resistance items that make you immune to them, and you put them on like Black Lords and then go kill them. You know, I mean,
Yeah, that doesn't
I'm not saying
actually
it's
work.
that simple, but I'm saying you're not like crippled as Ulm with, oh no, there's nothing I can do. They have 50 storm demons.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And Ulm actually, so one of the things that's interesting, Ulm has a Titan Pretender. They have
Yeah.
the Odin chassis, and the unfortunate thing for them is that they have no nature magic on their Pretender. So one of the
Yeah.
sort of challenges with trying to talk Ulm into attacking Asphodel is that they're like, I've got, nature 1 mages at this point. Like I'm not broken in enough into nature to be able to sort of field an army that doesn't just get gassed. And so
Well,
You know,
he's
I mean,
got
and that's part of
Earthquake.
the
You have to do
strength.
your own things, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
So, but anyway, there's a lot to talk through, but I think one key thing is convincing them there's some easy stuff they can do, taking this Machaca land, maybe they get like a fort off of Pyrene for piecing out like this one, right? And then they get like all of this. And then the idea is they'll come help with this once they're ready, and maybe it'll take a couple more turns than everybody else. Nidvanger and Pyrene, I think they both border Asphodel, so it's just like, hey, let's make common cause to the person who's clearly snowballing out of control. But that's going to be kind of hard to do. Ulm, I think, is the key one, because Ulm is kind of like the Marignon that we were talking about, where they don't really have a clear border with Asphodel yet, so they're kind of in a position to stab people fighting Asphodel. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with all that, and certainly I'm lobbying Ulm. Like, even if he doesn't think he can commit armies, like, if he can at least take a little bit of negotiate for a little bit of that sort of Machaca territory, or just send in raiders every turn and kind of do harassment, or sort of something.
Yeah.
'Cause one of the things with a snowballing Asphodel is that because their core lands don't have much gold income, how many mages they can make is basically how much of other people's lands they have. So that Machaca territory is actually a huge amount of panic apostates that we're going to have to fight. And there's nothing that either Naba or Shinuyama is going to be in any position to do about that. It's just so far away from our own territory.
Yeah, I think the game state's just at a point, and like Asphodel showing all the signs of wanting to snowball and no signs of hitting the brakes. And there's no way, this is like a huge mistake people can make, is thinking you can like out-eat a pop kill. Like a pop kill that's snowballed into position 1, you can never make common cause and out-eat them. Unless you're like, there's like very few nations in the game, or you have like late game globals or something you could try to. But like at this phase in the game, like it was like, what happened? And Machaca's already dead and they've got their cap, It was so fast, and that's how the next war is going to be. So
I tend to have that feeling just for most position 1s is you're generally not going to out-eat them, so it's probably best to find common cause.
Yeah, I do think it's less relevant that Asphodel is a pop kill nation, but more that they're an extreme mobility nation. Like, it's sort of the same thing with a Kalem. The fact that all their troops are map move 20 with forest survival, like, they're just so fast. And so,
the pop kill does two things. One is that you get a tremendous amount of free spawn.
Yeah.
So that usually translates to two things. One is you can usually apply huge rating pressure, which other nations can do, but that's just something you can usually do really well. And the second, and this one is usually pretty unique to pop kills, is you have, except for things like Kalem, you have kind of unparalleled fort storming, fort popping abilities. So the wars are just over very fast. So, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the...
I think,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Cookies.
Oh, so one of the things that I have started doing is just various testing to see what kind of raiding parties we can put together that can kill 100 mannequins and maybe 5 Black Centaur, stuff like that. And one of the summons that performed pretty well in that testing for maybe aiding a sorcerer or a couple of Uba was, oh gosh, the Long Dead Horseman. And so this is the first turn where we're going to start making a few of those to help out in the raiding game. Because we do have a really good death income, and they're inanimate, so they don't get affected by the sleep vines. And so they tend to chew right through a bunch of mannequins.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would be, I think, a good way to bulk up your armies, too. I think for raiding, Fire Shield does amazing. Like, it's crazy good against mannequins.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, these guys with Phoenix Pyre, or, I mean, even these, the problem is these guys also have to tank the Black Centaur, but yeah.
I think sort of the way that we're thinking about it is we don't have enough Bakemono Sorcerer to sort of use them for casual raiding. Like, I think if you click on the income tab, you can see our upkeep. I think we've got like 9 of them or something. And we kind of need them to hold up the main strength of our army. So if you click on the word income in the upper left. Yeah, we have literally 12. Okay, so it's not
improving.
Nothing.
Some of them have to fight Marignon though, so those
but I mean,
still...
this is also a way to maybe forge some kind of deal with Ulm, like, hey, to fight Asphodel, I'm going to need kits for some of these guys, and that can maybe help bring him more into the anti-Asphodel court. But like, yeah, I don't think it's like a low commitment thing, but it probably is reasonable to get these guys to, pretty easily kill 100 mannequins and 10 Black Centaur.
Yeah.
With a full kit of gear.
I think the way that we're sort of thinking about this is that this is a all resources on deck thing. So we're looking at, okay, like, how can we spend our death gems into power that can help with Asphodel? One of the things that's good for that is Pale Riders, especially on the defense, because Asphodel PD gets a priest that will kill like a third of your Pale Riders in an attack. But if we're defending, then it doesn't have that problem. How can we turn those fire gems into power? I think we're going to make like a ton of fire in the jars so that our Bakemono sorcerers can do, fire magic like elementals or that kind of thing every single fight. I think the big thing that we need is enough nature mages to be able to do stuff like Serpent's Blessing. And we just don't have the nature income to sort of do that directly. So I think we're going to try and turn our water income into naiads. Anyway, there's sort of a whole set of things that we're sort of brainstorming, is how to turn what resources we have into just stuff that we can throw at Asphodel, because the top kill nations, they produce so much stuff, they can apply so much rating pressure, and you kind of need to be ready to counter all that.
Yeah. One thing I just want to mention too is I think it speaks to the quality of you and Kirby as players that y'all both, like, Kirby immediately ended the nap and you're going to next turn, and because y'all basically have like a couple turn window to do this. If y'all let them roll over Pyrene, it's too late. So it's just, if you weren't experienced, that this was your first Dominions game, it's unlikely you would have the confidence and courage to kind of do this right away. So it's,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's very clever about Kirby's move is that the moment he ends nap with Asphodel, that huge doom stack that is currently in Machaca has to turn around and head east if it wants to be there in time for when the war with Naba starts. And Naba's stuff is invisible, so I don't know how much gossip he's gotten from what's happening in Marignon, or whether he's flown some black harpies there. But there's sort of this thing with Naba that you don't know how much stuff they're going to hit you with at the start of a war.
Right.
So it sort of like makes it the case that Asphodel sort of has to make this decision as to where he's going to allocate his big stack of Black Centaur and so on.
Wait, how are you already able to attack Marignon? Didn't you just end the nap last turn?
That was a couple of turns ago.
I sent him the notice. No, I think it was 2 turns ago. I sent him the notice on 31 at the start of 31, and so he had 31, 32, and this turn 33 to prepare.
Okay.
And
we just had a couple of quiet turns. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So are you going to get their cap? Is that the plan?
Get his cap? No. So we are going to get the things that we're attacking into, plus that fort in the south and the far east, basically the two east of the cap.
Who's going to get this?
Naba's going to get the cap.
So he's not turning around.
He's going to split his forces. That's his plan.
Ooh, woof. Okay.
Which for some classes of forces, right? Like his mages, if he's able to deliver sort of a killing blow on the army, maybe they can fly away and come back or that kind of thing. And
No, I mean,
some things
yeah,
like Sadites and camels, you could just leave them there and make new ones closer
yeah.
to the battlefront. It's not crazy, but it is bold. Definitely.
I
bold.
mean, he's splitting his forces after already losing most of them, so it's and then with no guarantee of victory. So we'll see
But
how it
I think
goes.
but if you think about the Naba problem statement, right? Like, he's pretty large. He's actually about the same size as I am. If you include all the cave stuff. But you really, he's still a one cap nation. He would really like to have a second cap for all the gold.
No,
and
of course he would.
spawn.
Like, there's a lot of things I would like. I'd like $1 million. I'd like, to, have somebody rubbing my back right now. There's a lot of things I would like, but, liking is not enough. He's lost most of his forces. He's about to fight the biggest player in the game. He's got you as kind of like a beleaguered ally. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be exciting. We're kind of out of time for this episode, but it's going to be exciting. So there's no question about that. I have no idea how you guys are going to do it, so I'm looking forward to being very entertained.
Yeah. There's Asphodel where it's the thing that we with predation, but one of the things that's really fun about Dominions is that hard wars are generally really cool. So I think your viewers will have a lot to look forward to.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you and viewers. Also, thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.
See y'all.